Tony Soprano and Don Draper live very different lives, but both are shaped by deeply traumatic childhoods they can't escape.
It's midnight. What do you want?
I told you God would give you a child.
Tony was raised in a mob family where crime and brutality were normalized.
I saw him getting arrested. What did he do?
They didn't do anything. They just pick on the Italians.
That's my livelihood. So I put food on the table.
I'm supposed to tell you to say your prayers.
Praying won't help you from this place, kid.
Ain't you heard? I'm a whore child.
Hey! Livia! Look who's home!
Don's mother died giving birth to him, and his father, obviously, was not a very faithful man, and he was also a very cheap man.
Life is like a horseshoe. It's fat in the middle, open on both ends, and hard all the way through.
In the pilot episode, Tony complains about the government putting a squeeze on his business. And in the first episode of Mad Men, Don's also complaining about the government putting a squeeze on his business.
You know, the government's using electronic surveillance and various legal strategies to squeeze my business.
You'll only be inviting further government interference. What Freud called the death wish is as powerful a drive as those for sexual reproduction and physical sustenance.
Freud, you say?
I had a semester and a half of college, so I understand Freud. I understand therapy as a concept. But in my world, it does not go down.
Dr. Gutman. Psychology might be great at cocktail parties. But it so happens that people were buying cigarettes before Freud was born.
I'm sure it was too much for you then, too. That's why you short-circuited. Puberty.
Like my bosom.
I don't know.
Do you want to know what all the fuss is about?
Witnessing not only your mother and father's sexuality, but also the violence and blood so closely connected to the food you were about to eat.
Is that true?
No!
You filthy, shameful, disgusting, shameful, horrible! You're trash! You know that you are! After I gave you a home, you're going to do something that's disgraceful! I could stick this fork in your eye!
All this from a slice of gabagool.
I was an orphan. I grew up in Pennsylvania. In a whorehouse. I dreamt of it. Of being wanted.
You can't even look at me.
This is where Tony and Don begin to diverge. Tony never escapes his past. He stays in it, builds his life inside it. Don, on the other hand, runs.
If death was coming any place, it's here, kid. Creeping around every corner.
But I saw him. I saw him in the window.
Did you know him?
A little.
You got your whole life ahead of you. Forget that boy in the box.
Tony becomes the world that hurt him, and Don tries to erase the world that hurt him. But neither one works. Not in the long run, anyway.
In Korea, I was wounded. But this other man was killed, and they mixed us up. I wanted them to. And I just kept living.
So while Tony stays trapped in his identity, Don is constantly trying to maintain one that isn't real.
I like the one that says Shumpo.
Tony goes to therapy. He sits across from Dr. Melfi and talks about his mother, his anxiety, his past, his current agita. He eventually confronts his trauma directly, but confrontation doesn't equal change. Don does the opposite. He doesn't confront anything. If Tony's looking directly at his trauma and refusing to change, Don is refusing to look at it at all.
What are the real feelings that exist below the surface? For example, how would you describe your father?
I apologize. I have an appointment.
Success doesn't heal trauma. It hides it, maybe it delays it, but eventually it surfaces.
We've created a monster. I created a living golem. It's a monster, Frankenstein.
For Tony, he gets close, he understands, he gets it, but he always returns to what's familiar.
Last week we talked about you feeling like the sad clown.
I don't know where we were going. No place. We never seem to get anywhere. Kind of like this therapy. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's a fungal.
And he said that I should see a psychiatrist.
Doctors must love that they now have an answer for I don't know what's wrong.
In the end, Tony Soprano and Don Draper represent two sides of the same truth. Tony can't escape who he is, and Don Draper, or should I say Dick Whitman, cannot sustain who he pretends to be.
Would you say I know something about you, Don?
When since you were a kid, Tom, frankly, you got a problem with authority.
Even though both Tony and Don wear a hard exterior, every once in a while they do have to serve the interests of someone besides themselves.
After all, when it comes down to it, who's really signing this contract anyway?
For Tony, he uses violence, food, and control, or the illusion of control, to cope. For Don, constant reinvention and escapism, and emotional detachment and running away.
Paris. Now, let's go.
And trauma is not linear. It resurfaces unpredictably.
Closest I got to feeling wanted was from a girl who made me go through her John's pockets while they screwed. If I collected more than $1, she'd buy me a Hershey bar.
You know, my shrink told me that I stood by Junior through all his jealousy and shit. Trying to prove I'm a good guy. My mother couldn't hate a good boy like that. My mother was a borderline personality. So what?
Because the woman who was forced to raise me would look at me every day like she hoped I would disappear.
There was little love in the house.
He's mentioned your mother very briefly.
There's a scene in Mad Men where Don's coming back to his building and he's really drunk, and he asks the doorman, who happens to be Ray Abruzzo, what he saw in his near-death experience.
Saw it. You were dead. He died right there. What did you see?
I don't like to think about it.
Well, you must have seen something.
I guess there was a light.
Is it like hot tropical sunshine?
I don't know.
If only Tony Soprano had been there when Don had asked, as we hear him talk about it with Phil Leotardo.
Well, I was in that coma. Something happened to me. I went someplace. I think. But I know I never want to go back there. It's Carlo. He's going to testify.
What made life survivable for Don, as opposed to Tony, is that Don was in a legal industry, as shady as one may find it. With Tony, he always had more than one enemy to keep his eye out for, whether it's someone in another crime family or even within his own family, as well as the FBI.
Donald Draper here is not who he says he is. His real name is Dick Whitman. But Dick Whitman died in Korea 10 years ago.
Once Don got past the Pete Campbell and North American Aviation contract background check issue, his identity wasn't really a legal liability. But for Tony, there's no retiring from this thing, which was his life. Money is prime in both industries, but it's not something you get killed over on Madison Avenue.
Look, I know you get sick of things, and you run.
He's a fraud and a liar, a criminal even.
Even if this were true, who cares? This country was built and run by men with worse stories than whatever you imagine.
But you can come home.
Don can come home. Can Tony always go home?